Look at me and tell me what you see.
I look at you and tell you what I feel. Look at me and tell me what you see. I look at you and tell you what.
And we're back with part 2 of the Mass Effect Legendary Collection. After Mass Effect 1, you heard my thoughts on that game. Like I said, very space exploration-like, early RPG-esque action combat, but not fully there. It's old school BioWare at its best. But now, let's move into what I want to call the Empire Strikes Back of the Mass Effect series. Now, Mass Effect 2, oh, this started with a bang. I thought I made it out okay at the end, but you end up in some Terminator-esque situation where you're rebuilt because of certain actions. You start working with a new organization called Cerberus, and this is where I come into the term saying this is more of a espionage type of setting. And when you play this game again, and when you play it closely, it really is. You're working for a shadowy organization. You're considered dead to most people. You're like a ghost, basically. A ghost who's got to go back and get his companions, and this time with newer companions. Mass Effect 2 was really a shock my first time playing it, and now that I'm playing it again, I'm doing things that I didn't do the first time. Because, let's just say, everything you do in this game matters. It will matter towards the final mission. This game really expects you to venture out there, do every mission you can find, enhance your ship, enhance your character, increase the loyalties. It looks better compared to the first game. Everything's a lot more detailed. The Normandy is upgraded more, and you add more personal customization to the Normandy, because you're going to need it for what is known at the end. For many Mass Effect fans, they know what's the suicide mission. And let's just say I came out with the bittersweet end instead of full out death, because I know that part. But the galaxy map has been expanded tremendously. This time, in order to upgrade the ship, not just by only doing side quests, main quests, the DLC quests, gathering your companions, finding missions upon other planets you scan, just to get resource to power up your ship for the final battle. Because what is going on this time around is another faction very similar to the Geth called the Collectors, which all in the end we all know leads to the Reapers. But the Collectors this time around, a very organic looking symbiote, not like symbiotic as in a symbiote from Spider-Man or Venom. I'm talking about as in how they assimilate people. They're like physical form, like foot soldier forms of John Carpenter's The Thing. If it didn't absorb people except kidnaps people, forces them into their ranks. Now these guys are pretty tough compared to the Geth, but the enemy variety in this game is a lot bigger, between mercenaries, criminals, different gang or organizations, which it's also more like that. Where the first game is like a big setup, this story is very small scale in feeling, but that small scale trajects into something big. That's why this game knows when to hit you. This game knows, like, it far exceeds the first, and I liked the first game. You know, I liked its simple system. I liked its simple combat. It was easy to get in and out. You know, you can go back and still there's still decisions I need to discover, so I have plenty of replayability for this trilogy. But as a whole, Mass Effect 2 really started to upgrade. It felt more upgraded than anything I've been playing in a recent RPG. Even newer RPGs don't compare. That's saying something. Like, the combat system this time, it's leaning more into that war style that I will discuss when I get to Mass Effect 3, which will be in another video. But here, You still give commands to your squads, you can still use your different abilities, but this time you could have more control of the fight. You know, every enemy has their own strength. Every enemy has their own weaknesses. It depends what gun you use. Like me, I prefer to go in as the soldier. The first time I played this trilogy, I messed up and played a sentinel, thinking I could use assault rifles and the energy powers, but I still need to learn the hard way apparently, because that fucked up at least part of my experience. So playing as a soldier, which is my type of preferred class, these enemies, they can tank a lot of damage. I'm not going to kid you. You need to use certain abilities to take these guys down. Like, now these factions have different enemy alien types. Like, alien types that you would be working with. Like, from the species that Garrus comes from the species that Liara comes from Rex, you know, Morden, those guys. Alien species that look like them, their race, they're thrown into the enemy type, and they themselves have individual strengths and weaknesses. You know, some of them, you got the Turians who know how to fight. They use advanced weapons if they're an enemy type against you. The Krogan, they have armor. The Solarians, they can go invisible with their technology. It's, oh, and the, what are they called? The T'Soni, I believe, or the Asari? Yeah, the Asari. The Asari use psychic-like abilities, which are cool. You know, I like that. And their species, like, they're one of the most fascinating species, but that's off track anyway. But it's much easier also to navigate. Navigation and individual encounters that happen during your main quest, which could also ultimately affect the mission for better or for worse if you want to go out your way to seek them out. But I recommend you do everything. It's worth going back doing everything. It's worth seeing what different dialogue choices. Like here at this part, I accidentally got this guy killed in my first playthrough, but here he lives. I was able to have his life spared, and I was able to defuse the situation. Something I thought I did the first time, but I just thought these Batarians were dickheads, and they still shot the guy. But I gave them my word, they were released, and the prisoner was released. See, little outcomes like that, it's like little acts of kindness, strange to say, gets you through. It's much easier now to also level up yourself, level up your squad. There's even settings in this game that allows your squad to function for themselves as if you were also controlling them. And I have that option turned on, just for anybody that needs to know. Your journal is much easier to tell you, like it'll give you full detail on the mission or mini mission, tell you where to go this time, what planet, but you're not restricted a little bit. Where the first game felt somewhat where they are paving you, even when you're doing side missions, you're being paved towards the main story anyway. Here, at least towards the middle, everything's open. Going to doing your companion quests from the DLC missions, which is also another thing I still want to talk about, which is what this Legendary Collection does. I've mentioned it in the first video, but I would have to say it again, is how they integrate the DLC, which this is like my first time playing everything. I didn't know what was DLC until my buddy Keo had to tell me what was the DLC. So I went in, all the DLC is added into the story mode. You know, you can choose to take it on, or there are certain parts that if you're doing a couple of side quests or a couple main missions, they get referenced, and certain characters and certain turning points from your other missions could also affect those missions. It's just everything feels alive in the like BioWare created a world just as living as any great sci-fi fantasy we have out there. You know, I'm glad it's a video game because this is a world you have to experience rather than watch. You know, I mean, if you read some of the books, I'm sure the Mass Effect books are good. Now, what's also dangerous in this game is environmental. Going to certain planets where there's this one planet where you have to fight through the sun and the shade. Kind of reminds me of that scene from the Chronicles of Riddick where they were fighting on that sun planet. where I'm here fighting the Geth. Oh, it just, for some reason, see, this I'm saying, you get sci-fi vibes, because BioWare are clearly fans of other sci-fi, old guard BioWare, not current BioWare that's fucked up recently. I can't give newer BioWare any kudos for fucking up. If you remake the Old Republic correctly, hopefully, I don't know. Anyway, back on Mass Effect. Overall, Mass Effect 2, this so far, even though I do like 3 despite the controversy behind it, I like this one as well. This one, I can feel my decisions have more weight. There's more impact to what you do. And if you do everything correct in this game, it does play a factor into Mass Effect 3, where there's a big, almost, how Keo and a couple of my friends described it as a Avengers Endgame type moment, where you have all your companions all show up for the final battle. That's something that's something I have to see. I've never seen that. I want to do that, and it feels good to actually go back out your way to do that, because you grow attached to these characters. You've grown attached to this series. So, Mass Effect, to me, out of the series, this is a 10 out of 10 out of the series. You know, I've enjoyed it 100 times more. It's 100 more times more accessible. And I can't say any more good things about it. Stay tuned next time for Mass Effect 3. And who knows, I might throw Andromeda in there, because I do got some thoughts on that. Anyway, like, subscribe, favorite, and I'll be sure to catch you all in the next video, guys.